Now available in paperback and e-readers, Spellbound, A Darker Shade of Black. Get your copy today at your favorite online bookseller. On Friday, the Biden administration's Department of Justice and the FBI brought federal civil rights charges against 4 of the Louisville police officers in connection with the death of Breonna Taylor. Now, in this indictment, it is alleged that these 4 police officers wound up participating in violating Breonna Taylor's civil rights when they did their investigation into Breonna Taylor's boyfriend to get the search warrant, which led to the no-knock raid, which led to the death of Breonna Taylor. Now, some out here in the black community see this as a victory and a way to get justice finally for Breonna Taylor almost 3 to 4 years after her passing. But when I take a critical examination of this federal indictment of these 4 police officers, it looks basically like an empty symbolic gesture by the Biden administration to pander for the black female vote. Now, the reason why I believe this is an empty symbolic gesture to pander for the black female vote is due to the timing of this indictment. Now, the timing is when the Joe Biden's approval rating is at an all-time low and black voters are walking away from Joe Biden's party. And with black voters walking away from Joe Biden's party, your Joe Biden and his members of his party are looking for a desperate gesture to try to win back black female voters. Now, your Joe Biden alienated all of the black voting bloc back in 2020 when he said he could do nothing for black voters. And after he said he could do nothing for black voters en masse have been walking away from Joe Biden, and Joe Biden's approval rating has been slipping for the last 2 years, especially in black communities. Now, your Joe Biden is desperate to try to get the attention of the black voter, but he doesn't want to give black voters anything tangible. And because he doesn't want to give black voters anything tangible, what he wants to do is go out here and make it look like he's doing something while he's doing absolutely nothing. Now, previous ploys to try to win back the black vote, such as the John Lewis Voting Rights Act, have basically fallen flat, and with these empty symbolic gestures like the John Lewis Voting Rights Act falling flat, and most people looking at Ketanji Brown Jackson's nomination to the Supreme Court as meaningless, because your Ketanji Brown Jackson is, even though she's a black female Supreme Court justice, she is not interested in getting tangibles for black people, and basically doesn't even know what a woman is. So since your Joe Biden's ploy to try to put a black female token on the Supreme Court and his John Lewis Voting Rights Act have fallen flat to win the favor of black voters, now he's trying to throw yet another Hail Mary in the hopes of getting black female voters to go out here and vote blue in the November election. And what he wants to do is make it look like he actually cares about civil rights. However, when you start to take a look at who is charged and what they are being charged with, you see how extremely disingenuous the Biden administration is when it comes down to giving tangibles to black people, because the 2 officers who shot Breonna Taylor have not been charged with federal civil rights charges. In fact, they aren't even mentioned in the indictment at all. No, the only officers that are mentioned inside of this indictment are the 4 officers who did the investigation and created the information for the search warrant And these are the only officers who are being charged as related to this case. And we are sure that these charges really don't mean much, because if the Biden administration was serious about going out here and putting charges on these officers, they would have done it back in 2021, and they would have done that early on to show how serious they are concerned about black people. But we clearly see that the Biden administration is not really concerned with black voters, and it's not really concerned about giving the tangible of justice. What they want to actually do is make it look like they're going out here and giving out the tangible of justice on the surface with these empty symbolic gestures, and passively making it look like they're doing something for black people, but aggressively what they're doing is giving black people no tangibles of justice at all, because what they will do in this case is, after they get this indictment and possibly get their seats back in 2022, then go back out here and call themselves giving us a plea, getting these guys off with a plea deal possibly, or they will take the case to trial and they will acquit these individuals and go back to business as usual. So most black people, we have to realize we cannot fall for these kinds of okey dokes, because basically what they want to do is make it look like they're listening to us, make it look like they're giving us tangibles, when they're absolutely giving you nothing at all. What a lot of times what the white supremacist likes to do is go out here and make a passive gesture, but aggressively that gesture is not about giving you any sort of tangible at all. So the reason why they're coming out here at the last minute is because, again, your Joe Biden and his party are falling in their approval ratings. They're seeing black people are serious about staying home in November of 2022, and they fear losing their political majority in the House and the Senate, and they deserve to lose that majority because they have done nothing for black people. They have no interest in doing anything for black people, and they're not serious about giving black people any sort of tangibles at all. So we have no real reason to go out here and vote for these individuals, because these individuals aren't really interested in going out here and getting justice for Breonna Taylor. What they want to do is give you an empty symbolic gesture that makes you feel good, and they're doing this primarily to try to appeal to the black female voter, because they believe that the black female voter has political power here in America, and they've completely disregarded the black male voter in this country, and they don't see the black male voter as anybody that they care about. And this is all, again, a gesture to try to pander to black women, trying to play to their emotions by making it look like they really care about getting justice for Breonna Taylor. But if they cared about getting justice for Breonna Taylor, they would have been working to get justice for Breonna Taylor when she was murdered by those rogue police officers who created this convoluted search warrant and terrorized her in her home. They would have done something about these rogue police officers then, not wait 2 to 3 years possibly later in trying to get her some so-called justice, when all they want to do is just get back to business as usual and try to con black women into going out here and voting for the status quo, when black Americans really need to realize that if you couldn't get tangibles in December of 2020, then you have no incentive to vote in November of 2022, because if your Joe Biden wasn't going to guarantee you tangibles, even if you put him in the White House, then you have no reason to help him get a majority in the House and the Senate that will continue to vote to do nothing for black people, because if they're not serious about getting us tangibles, then we have no real incentive to go out here and vote in the next election, because this, again, is another empty symbolic gesture made to make it look like they're doing something, meant to stimulate most black women's emotions and make black women think that, oh, the government really wants to go out here and get justice for Breonna Taylor. But again, if they were serious about getting justice for Breonna Taylor, they would have gone out here and expedited the process of justice and due process the same way they did with Derek Chauvin and George Floyd. Because I find it interesting that your Breonna Taylor, I think she died about the same time as George Floyd, but they're just coming out with this in 2022, and the timing, again, is very convenient because the timing is just about in time for the midterm elections. They weren't saying anything about Breonna Taylor for over a couple of years now, but all of a sudden, election time comes up. Biden's low in the approval ratings. The left is losing support, and now they want to go back to the black voters who they said they could do nothing for them. Well, our tangibles are not something that you can put on the table whenever you're desperate, and they're not something you can go out here and use as an empty symbolic gesture to try to continue fostering a codependent relationship with us. No, this is an interdependent relationship. It is a business transaction, and the tangible of justice is just one part of the tangibles that we are demanding in exchange for our vote. And we're not falling for empty symbolic gestures where you tell us what you want to hear and then later on give us absolutely nothing. No, we want an invoice number, we want a tracking number, and we want a date of delivery on those tangibles in exchange for that vote. And if we don't get that as related to tangibles, most black people need to understand that they should not be voting, because a lot of black women out here, they don't see how the politician is playing the same games as the black pastor. And what the black pastor likes to do in his games is he likes to go out here and tell the black woman what she wants to hear. He likes to go out here and make small, trivial gestures, and he likes to go out here and give the black female congregants a little small gesture, but that small gesture will lead to a big bag of nothing. And as it leads to a big bag of nothing, the congregants get nothing, the pastor continues fleecing the flock, and the community gets nothing in exchange for whatever the tithes are offered to the pastor. And this is the same type of codependent relationship that your Joe Biden's administration wants to foster with black women. And black women really need to start thinking critically about the games being run on them, because the same game that the black pastor runs is the same game the Biden administration is running here. They didn't care about Breonna Taylor for over, I believe, two years, but now all of a sudden they're concerned about Breonna Taylor, and now they want to get justice for Breonna Taylor. And again, it just shows how desperate your left is. Your left doesn't go out here and want to talk about Breonna Taylor. They were all arrogant and full of themselves, and they didn't care about the black vote until they realized that they had thrown up a middle finger at the people who primarily put your Joker Joe and the left in office. And since they can't do anything for us, then we don't have to do anything but stay home in November, because unless they are serious about giving us tangibles and supporting a black agenda, then we have no reason to go out here and vote for them. And they can come out, and because they keep coming out with these empty symbolic gestures, it shows us they're not really serious about taking the black vote seriously. Now, if you want to see me make more videos like this, you can donate to my Patreon, my PayPal, or my Cash App by clicking the links in the description box. And if you want to pick up some of my books on the SJS Direct imprint, like the ISIS series, the E-Steam series, the John Haynes series, and the books of the Spinsterella trilogy, you can find all those books on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. You can also find them on Smashwords, the iBook store, and Google Play. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe. Now available in paperback and e-readers, ISIS, the Beauty Myth. Learn the beauty secrets of the goddess next door in this action-packed ISIS series adventure. Get ISIS, the Beauty Myth at online booksellers everywhere today.